That was exhilarating, but we got there at the end of the day. Thankfully, City won, Leeds United nil away at Elland Road to Leeds, and this was a very, very hard fought victory for Manchester City in this very tight title race. But I have to applaud Leeds and give them their flowers and credit because they came out in that first half from minute zero and they just applied immense pressure on City. They made it so hard for City to operate. They gave City like no time to breathe. They created loads of chances in the first half, and yeah, they just made it look. They made it look really difficult. They had me very scared. So I got to give them credit. That opening 30 minutes for City was brutal to watch, and if I'm being completely honest, we're lucky that City didn't find themselves 2 or 3 down in that first half, in that opening 30 minutes, because Leeds United were piling loads of pressure on City and were creating loads of chances as well. Dominic Calvert-Lewin had a lot of opportunities to score some. There was one where he was like just briefly offside. Aronson looked so lively and was like kind of like the creative catalyst in attack. He was creating some. He was getting on the receiving end of opportunities and everything, and he couldn't put them away. Leeds couldn't really finish any chances off. Again, like I said, we're lucky to not have gone 2 or 3 down in the opening 30 minutes of the match. So I do got to give credit to Leeds United for coming out the way that they did, because they made things look very rough and difficult for City. They were asking a lot of questions of them. So City are lucky to not, have been found out at the end of that. But after those 30 minutes, City were able to kind of like get hold of the game and start to control it. And then, we got the winning goal very late in the first half via Antoine Semenyo. Great ball from Ryan Cherky to find Ryan Aït-Nouri into the box, and then Aït-Nouri just putting it on a plate for Antoine Semenyo to slot it home for the 1-0, eventually ending up being the winning goal and everything. And then in the second half, just, more of what we're used to seeing from City, just controlling the game, good game management, no slip-ups this time, thankfully, but Leeds didn't really create all that many chances, and any slight opportunities that would have presented itself for Leeds, City were able to deal with, very well. So I do got to give Leeds credit, and huge credit to City as well for seeing that game out, because yeah, it was tough. It would have been tough. So yeah, City found their groove after those first 30 minutes. So big ups to them. I know that there was a shout for handball against Mateus Nunes right in the dying moments of the game, which the referee didn't give. And I'm sure if you're an Arsenal fan, you're looking at that and you're probably pissed and you're screaming at the TV and everything. But I'm gonna be honest. I don't think it was a penalty. If it was given, it would have been really harsh. And I know I sound super biased because I am a City fan at the end of the day. But when it comes to like officiating and the rules and stuff, I call it for what it is. I'm not biased. If we got away with something, I am the first one to say we got lucky. Like, that should have been given, and so on. But I think if we're gonna allow calls like that to be given, then we're just not gonna have a great time as fans watching the game. We're gonna be really pissed off watching a lot of matches, because if it was your team, you wouldn't want that to be given as a penalty against your team either. So, look, I get it. The title race is tight. We're in like the crunch time of the season. We're approaching the crunch time of the season now, where it's the nitty gritty and you need to nut up or shut up, right? So I'm sure for Arsenal, you wanted City to drop as many points as possible, any chance you can. So I get it, but I don't think it was a penalty. But anyway, yeah, great victory. The gap is back to 2 points. Ball's in Arsenal's court. So they face Chelsea tomorrow. That's going to be a huge test for Arsenal. They were able to get past Spurs last weekend, which I was predicting, because let's face it, Spurs are shit. They're with a new manager as well. So yeah, it was a really good time to have North London derby for Arsenal against Spurs last weekend. And then now this weekend, tomorrow with Chelsea. I'm hoping that this is the one that Arsenal drop points in, which is what I predicted last time out as well. I said, they'd get past Spurs, and then if I see them dropping points, it's going to be against Chelsea. So this is Chelsea who, yeah, they're kind of like up and down, they're wishy-washy, but they can hurt you at the end of the day. So fingers crossed for tomorrow. But with all of that, I kind of want to have this video be pretty short, so I'm not going to really rant on too much. I do want to touch on some of these players for City, because we have been able to turn things around drastically and much needed as well. So Antoine Semenyo with the winning goal in the first half, that is now 6 goals in 11 appearances, all competitions, since he has signed on for the club. And the impact and the difference that he has made onto this team is just absolutely incredible and astounding. Like, he is such a magnificent player, and he was much needed into this squad to offer a lot more versatility, depth, and just options going forward, right? Because I think what you get from Antoine Semenyo going forward, in contrast to Erling Haaland, is it's a much needed like balance and like difference, because Antoine Semenyo is so versatile, right? He could be played on the left side, he could be played on the right wing, right flank, left, right flank, whichever. He could play striker, center forward. Like, he was much needed, and obviously we're reaping the benefits of it now. Like, you're seeing the impact that he's having in this title race on City's like fortunes and form turning around this season, right at this point. So yeah, big ups to him. I think a lot of clubs underestimate or overlook January transfer windows, and if this season with Antoine Semenyo and Marc Guéhi isn't a prime example as to why you shouldn't overlook the January transfer window, and I'll get into Marc Guéhi in a second, then I don't know what else is proof. Every big club that is in a title race, and you don't even have to be a big club in a title race, if you need to turn things around, January is the best time to do so. So you cannot take the January transfer window lightly. And I know a lot of, the January transfer window doesn't get all that much motion, anything like you don't get a lot of big profile signings in the January transfer window, but it can make a huge difference, Yeah, like Antoine Semenyo, like I said, just adding so much more sauce to this team, adding so much more versatility and depth, and just a different like perspective in terms of like how we can approach games in attack and also in defense, because he does have a high defensive work rate as well. But yeah, great performance from Semenyo today. I don't think he was the man of the match, if I'm being completely honest, which isn't a bad thing. I'm just saying I thought the team overall, I guess it looked kind of average. I don't think there were many too standouts. There weren't too many standout performances on the pitch. Everything was just kind of like standard and average, or not standard, but it was just kind of like an average performance. I mean, obviously 1-0 reflects that perfectly. I don't think anyone had like a, what's it called? Noteworthy performances that was, out of this world. If anything, I thought probably Ryan Ait-Nouri was the best one on the field, and I've grown a huge fan of him. Like, I like the way that he plays. I wasn't too big or familiar on him when he was at Wolves. So seeing him now at City, he is a very great attacking option from defense, right? Like, playing left back, I like the way that he attacks. I like the way that he moves on the ball, his techers, his skill, his defensive work rate. Like, he played a great match and got the assist as well. So I'll probably give my man of the match to him. Then Ryan Cherki didn't have a great game. Like I said, everything was just kind of like average, but he is such an influence on these matches, isn't he? Because he is so hungry for the ball. He is everywhere on the pitch trying to be involved no matter what. Like, if you look at his heat map, he is everywhere on the pitch, and teams need that. You need a maverick like that, who isn't afraid to get on the ball, who has great skill, who can make an impact on a dime like that, even if they're being quiet for most of the game, right? Like, he wants to make an impact. Like I said, he wasn't like a standout player or anything, but just moments of magic. And that is important. So he's always involved. So I got to shout him out for that. Next, Ruben Diaz and Mark Gahey. That partnership is looking really great. Mark Gahey also came in January, obviously. He's made such a huge difference as well, an impact on this team defensively, because City were leaking goals, right? And that hasn't necessarily gone away completely, but we just look a lot more sure and solid in the back with him in there. And with Ruben Diaz back as well, that partnership is looking really strong. You know, I mentioned in the first half, the first 30 minutes, Leeds United really made things difficult for City. We weren't able to respond all that much. We were fortunate Leeds United didn't really capitalize on any of the chances they created. But in that second half, we dealt with those very well. The amount of clearances that Ruben Diaz and Mark Gahey had in that second half was great. So they were able to deal with any questions that Leeds United might have been asking of that Manchester City defense in the second half. So I got to give them their props as well, because it is much needed composure, dominance, and just like a solid unit in the back with Mark Gahey on there. I don't think that he had an outstanding performance as well. I thought Ruben Diaz definitely was the more dominant center back between the two of them tonight, but still solid enough. Another clean sheet in the books, and that's going to come in much, much good use come the end of the season if we have to turn to goal differences. So yeah, big up to them for getting the job done and making sure that we don't leak any more goals, right? So yeah, this title race is heating up completely. It is fully on. Manchester City are unbeaten in their last 6 in the Premier League, 5 wins and 1 draw. The draw coming against Spurs back in like February and everything. Arsenal are also unbeaten in their last 5, but the fact that they weren't able to capitalize and have the gap be bigger than what it actually is now is, if you're Arsenal, it's obviously like that's a lot of pressure on you. Because again, although you're unbeaten in 5, the gap should be a lot bigger. It should be 9. It could even be 15. It could be possibly more, you know? So yeah, the psychological aspect of this title race is, I'm sure, is very daunting. So yeah, Ball's in Arsenal's court for tomorrow. I will come with my match reaction to that probably on Monday. So yeah, I'll see you guys on the next one.